Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday interview sessions. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This channel exists to inspire and encourage your heart-centered leadership. Each week, I share interviews with some of the greatest heart-centered leaders in the world. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. Please visit abty.co.uk if you would like us in your corner. These interview sessions are brought to you by Matt Media Online Marketing, an independent agency who specialise in content marketing, helping business owners get their message seen by the right audience. If you want to get your business seen through the power of social media, head to mattmedia.online. On episode 237, it is great to welcome our friend Emily Harbrecht back to the podcast. Emily was first on the show back in April 2020. Since then, she has remained a great friend of our community. She is the founder of Mind Tools for Kid, an organisation that seeks to give you the tools and strategies to help create happy and resilient families. I want you to listen closely to this episode. There's an incredible opportunity for you to become a Mind Tools for Kids coach and for you to help others become happy and resilient through the power of the tools and the strategies that Emily has pulled together over the years. I believe in this so much that I'll be sending Abby, our community manager, to be trained in becoming a Mind Tools for Kids coach. I know that Abby has a heart for developing the potential of young people, and I really believe that equipping her with the qualification of being a Mind Tools for Kids coach will help her leave a heartprint where those children are infinitely left better as a result. It's episode 237 with our great friend Emily Harbrecht. Emily Harbrecht, welcome back to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. What was it, 3 years it's been, 3.5 years?
Yes, it has. And I cannot believe that. But I'm honoured to be back because the quality of the guests you have had.
Don't start.
I'm pinching myself now that I'm even back on this.
Well, you are my sister from another mister. We're birthday buddies. We are. I love the way that you speak. Obviously, in preparing this, I've gone back and listened to some of the conversations you've had, and I just love the way that you describe yourself as just. It's almost like the same way I'd introduce myself. Just a people watcher. Just love people and psychology. But there's a specific word that you use on your LinkedIn profile that says that you are a people wrangler. Let's start there. What is a people wrangler?
I just had this moment where I thought, who am I? And I've naturally just become a person who just welcomes into my life very interesting people, and a lot of them, like we aren't all, walking wounded. We're all a product of the stuff we've experienced, the things that we've had no control over. And it tends to be my work to come in and do some level of taming. That's what people tend to ask of me. They're sort of wanting me to tidy things up, put them on the right path, help them fit in with what they consider to be this world that isn't quite ready to receive them yet, which I think is really interesting.
There's a lot of noise in the social world. There's 1,001 of us, when I talk about coaches. And whilst I was snooping around your LinkedIn, I looked down and there's this testimonial from 2011 talking about the power of your coaching. It says that, Emily's coaching wasn't just change, it was transformational. And so for anyone listening, Emily is the real deal. She's been around this game for a while. She's the real deal. In a world full of pop-up coaches, you're a master.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
That means a lot, especially coming from you, because I share many of the same values that you do. And for me, this has never been about popularity.
Yeah.
It's never been about ego. It's not about making money. This is my calling, and I've been like this since I was a child, and I've had to learn to put boundaries in. I've always been the person that believes that I'm never going to cross the road when it's someone's hour of need. I'll be there
Mm.
with them in the thick of it. And
Mm.
not from my own perspective, but I want to show up to help them help themselves through life stuff. And as I've grown old and a lot older now I've hit the big 40 this year, I've come to terms with it. Yeah, this is very much a part of who I am. So I
Yeah.
have been doing this a long time. I started taking clients in 2008. I've lost track now, because to me, when I say like 5 years ago, I realize that, yeah, it's a long time now, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're getting old, but it is who I am, and it's evolved. I
Yeah.
still do a variety of work in the field, and obviously, as you can see from my background here, Mind Tools for Kids is still a huge passion for me,
Mm.
because when we look at us as adults, and I said earlier about a lot of us are walking wounded,
Mm.
there's so much from our childhoods that's still playing out for us in
Yeah.
adult. Definitely still for me, even with the knowledge and awareness that I've got. So it's
Mm.
a huge piece.
Mm. One of the things I have a real heart for kids at the moment is that the current family setups, the schooling system, that we're not really equipping our kids with a sense of identity, a sense of who they are. And you and I share a love for the book Hold On to Your Kids in common. And in that book, it says that if we don't teach our kids who they are, the world will. The world will teach them. So we've got so many people that are learning who they are through the power of social media or their image or their circles. And it made me think about when you just talk about the newest and the latest expressions of you. It's like that's what life has become, isn't it? It's become a journey of deeper connection with ourselves, and it's only natural then that our work becomes a more authentic expression of that. Would that be kind of fair to say of you?
Definitely. And over the years, I've always felt, as an extroverted introvert who likes to hide, I'll admit it, there's been so many times where I've felt like I'm on the outside looking in of what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be all over Instagram pretending that I have a shiny existence, that I feel together every day? I
Yeah.
do not. I do
Yeah.
not. And for me, my authenticity is about not even pretending to be that.
Mm.
I'm not going to do
Mm.
that, because I feel that is a disservice to the people that I'm going to show up for. I'll never be a guru. I don't believe it exists. But
Mm.
yeah, we're walking wounded, Ryan. We are. And a lot of those woundings happen in childhood, and it does really scare me having children and seeing how they are getting shaped. It's so intrusive now. We could still cut off when we were kids. There was
Mm.
still a way of coming home and shutting out the outside world to a degree. And obviously for many kids, home life may not have been the best. So I get that the internet's a wonderful thing. I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for something like this. But the bombardment that those young minds are under now is it does worry me. It does
Mm.
concern me. So for me, I feel a resurrection of my passion for
Mm. Mm.
Mind Tools for Kids, and I want to reach as many kids as I possibly can to help them learn the skill of reconnecting with who they are. Because we need
Mm.
to be shown this, we need to be modeled these skills, these tools, these strategies. And
Mm.
I genuinely believe if we can do that, it will help us help these kids become adults that aren't trying to find themselves at the end,
Mm. Hey friends, before we dive back into the interview, I just wanted to take a quick moment and ask for your help. Did you know that only 7% of you, 7% are currently subscribed to the YouTube channel? If you are enjoying the content so far and haven't hit the subscribe button yet, now is the perfect time to do it. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with all our latest videos and you'll become part of our fantastic community. Plus, it's entirely free and it takes just a second. Just click that red subscribe button below this video. Not only will you never miss out on our future content, but you'll also be showing your support for this channel and helping us grow. It's your way of saying, hey, I love what you're doing and I want to see more. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we upload a new video. So if you're one of the 93% who hasn't subscribed yet, join the 7% who already have. And let's make this community even more awesome together. Thank you for being here. Let's get back to that interview. I'm gonna make lots of time and space for Mind Tools for Kids, but before we do that, I want to go back to 2013. So I googled Emily Harbrecht, and this wonderful article comes up. Says NLP star Emily working with Paul McKenna. So it's clear that you haven't always worked with kids. Tell us about some of the early days of your coaching career.
Oh my gosh. When I started, I felt really pulled towards phobia work. I'd done lots and lots of training, and yeah, I've been quite good at finding, I call parent figures within the coaching world, especially when I was a lot younger in my early 20s, who took me under their wing. I was blessed to have those opportunities. And a couple of them in particular, Steve and Tina, they were doing lots of training really locally to me. And I couldn't afford to do all these shiny courses, but I was so committed that they let me turn up to any training that I could make. I was there. And I think I did something like 56 days in the classroom with them.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We used to have tarantulas and big snakes come in and things like that. And we'd have to live do phobia workshops with people that would come in. We'd obviously play with it ourselves. And yeah, they still are. In fact, I think Steve's doing a big event with Paul McKenna this weekend in the city. He would have a team of support people that would come in to help when you've got these big conferences with 500 people, 1,000 people. So I got the opportunity to do that a few times. And I'd be sat at the back and there'd be like an I Can Make You Thin event where you'd be learning about unconscious patterning, programming. And my job would to be, if there was a group of people that maybe didn't understand how to do the work or do the exercises, we would be given groups of people and we'd go outside and we'd have maybe 10 or 15 people. We'd live coach through the content. So that was so exciting. Really, really exciting. I definitely was a pup back then. And it feels like many, many moons ago.
Yeah, I just you've used, the words. I love your words. It's you've drawn to. Then you talked earlier about your calling, and I guess there's freedom and permission for that to take whatever shape it's meant to in whatever moment that is. But I guess for anyone listening that maybe either feels called or doesn't know whether they are called, I'd love to know your perspective on like what helped you follow that, because I have this belief that there isn't the called and the uncalled. Like there isn't a group of people that are special that God's talking to just them. It's like, hey, you're called, and these people over here you're not. I think everybody's called to do something. I think the question really is, are we listening? And then if we're listening, are we acting? Are we acting in line with that? So I guess take us back to that kind of time, if you might, and just maybe put it in perspective to help someone that might be experiencing those calls, but there's a bit of resistance.
I think it's really easy to be listening to everything other than us. Right. And I think the world can be very, very noisy. And if we can find a way to slow down and quieten down, even in tiny moments, there are always subtle cues that are coming. I describe them as almost like our beliefs and values being tested. When we get those moments where we think, I want to do that, but, or all of those tiny moments are almost like us butting up against the direction probably which we should be going. So for me, it was always the reverse of that. There's never been a shortage of doors opening. I've conditioned myself to see opportunities, solutions, and possibilities. However, there have been many of them that haven't been the right ones for me.
Yeah.
when I started to pay attention to that little niggle and to think, how does this opportunity fit with my beliefs and values? Does this feel right for me? What will I gain? What will I lose from doing this? What will change? What won't change?
Yeah.
How do I like to spend my time? How do I like to recharge my energy? What will it look like in this situation? By doing that, that really helped me to realign with what my calling is. And it's not a cut and dry piece of work. This is a continual thing. I did the same yesterday. I did the same this morning whilst walking. I find movement whilst I'm doing the thinking. It's like what I do with the brain friends, work it through the body, notice what's happening physically in your body and use that to help get this moving. We just need to learn to pay attention. So I would say to people, really think, what will I lose? What will I gain? What does this feel like inside? Because I think we've had a conversation before. For me as a parent, there are amazing things that I can do. And it's not the right time for me because of how I feel about how I want to show up as a parent. That's how I find my calling.
I love that. And I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Elizabeth Gilbert, but she wrote a book called Big Magic. And she has this idea and this belief that ideas are almost like this universal spirit that is, around us. And it comes through in the form and shape of an idea or a thought or a feeling. And its only desire is to partner with a human being who will make that manifest. So it has no kind of attachment to a human being. There's no special people. There is only those people who actually listen and are then willing manifestors of that idea, right? And if you don't willingly partner with that idea, it will go off and find someone else who will. And I think what you just spoken to is this idea of allowing that creation to come forth from the inside. Like when you align it with beliefs and values, that's not an intellectual algorithm. That's not like being able to pick out a color chart and say, should it look like this? Should it look like that? That's you going, what part of me do I want to bring forth? Like, how does this align with who I am and who I want to be? And I think sometimes that can then quieten down whatever's out there. I've interviewed so many people who have said the similar idea to me, which is that we have to get away from this idea that it's good enough and that actually the bringing of it is just good for us.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is the thing. Whatever it is, all of these infinite possibilities will never be the same depending on who allows that in, who embodies it. And that's something that I would say that's probably one of my biggest learnings of my 30s. I can say that now. Now I'm the big 4-0, my 30s. And for me, it was almost at times I would have an idea, I'd visualize it, I'd feel it, I'd try it on. Would align so beautifully. And then I would have this moment where I'd succumb to the world of social media or the internet, and I'd go outside of this amazing bubble that I was in, this place where I felt in flow, I felt connected, like completely into what I'm doing, knowing, almost feeling the good it's going to do. And then I would go and think, well, other people are doing things like that, maybe this isn't for me, maybe it won't be well received. And suddenly it's like all this alignment would shift. And actually, I check back in and think, but I'm not doing it for any of those reasons. I'm doing this because I want to do good and it feels good. And I know that this is a great thing. And I've had to learn to come out enough to share what I'm doing and then to close off. And I think if I feel like that with the amount of self-work I'm doing continually, how on earth is a 13-year-old child supposed to navigate the amount of external pressure we get?
Mm.
There's not much of an off switch now. As much as I love
Yes.
what this online world has given an introvert like me,
Yeah.
isn't really an off switch.
Yes. I agree. You said about how we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for technology. We also wouldn't be having this conversation if I didn't show up walking wounded. And much of my expression of always better than yesterday originated from a walking wound. I've shared, my audience probably roll their eyes every time I pull out this scripture, but is that idea when Paul pleads to God for the thorns to be removed from his flesh. Well, in the Passion Translation, God replies, "In your weakness you will find my full expression." Not in your weakness you will find strength. You will find God's fullest expression. So I've started to learn how so much of my expression of this work has come from my walking wounds. Now I can see those wounds. I can, I don't mind showing them. I own them. I own the shadow that comes with it. I know the triggers that will come along with certain behaviors, and then the needs that I have to fill that. But I wasn't that self-aware in the early days, and yet I was still showing up walking wounded. I guess you see that a lot working, particularly within the male space and the corporate world.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And I think there's times I've had to stop and think, oh, do I need to check in with myself here? Because my tolerance for human behavior is, some people would describe it as being a little bit out there. But for me, I have always seen some of these big, and to achieve great things in the corporate world, there has to be a little bit of something going on there to push above and beyond. So I'm seeing a lot of behaviors that are not necessarily landing well with others, not particularly PC, quite ferocious at times. But I honestly, all of that to me is just heat. It's noise, it's energy, it's stuff. I can almost see through to the child that sat there, and it doesn't bother me or trigger me most of the time because I can see where it's coming from. I know what's behind it, and the fact that I can see what's behind it, it connects me to that person, and I'm drawn to that work. So glutton for punishment on one hand, but
Yeah.
I've still held on to that relationship with, especially working with men that crave power or have quite substantial ego needs, because
Mm-hmm.
I would never have got to the point of doing the children's work, even being a parent myself, without
Mm-hmm.
about where that's come from, where it's stemmed from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very much about reconnecting with our stuff and our path, making sense of what we've experienced and holding the mirror up to people like that.
Yeah, that's powerful because I imagine it's pretty disarming having someone like you in the corner that can see straight through all that egoic nonsense and puffing up, and and to be someone that will tell you what you don't want to hear and still be top of the Christmas card list. Like, that's a skill set that you've got there.
It's interesting. It's interesting. But I think I'm in my own little world and I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy with that. I have a big heart and I have a lot of room for people. And if somebody's acting in an unkind way, I'm interested in how we can rather than going, that's bad, that's this, that's that. I'm interested in how can we take that and how can we soften that? How can we bring that person back? I don't believe, it's like naughty children. I don't believe anyone wants to be the naughty, bad pantomime villain figure. I believe there's an element of healing there. And I feel I'm old enough and ugly enough now to lean into that discomfort, my own and others.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with you on the age and the beauty. Like, I'm wise enough not to go there. I'm going to skip straight on, but you know, and this is an awkward conversation, particularly within the business world, because the belief I have, and it's informed by the work of Dr. Gary Chapman, which is, for all the love you don't receive as children, we become adults that seek it in the world. And it's just like, when you start to then perceive everything either as an expression or love or seeking love, you can then start to be a bit more compassionate. While it's like, oh, I don't like or agree with that behavior and how you're interacting with other human beings, you can just see it as, well, there's a human being with unmet needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that coupled with some challenging conversations.
Right.
Because I do believe we're all, I will never stop learning. I will never stop growing. There is always more. Nothing is ever finished. It's never the last version. And I'm at peace with the 80%, and I'm excited about the 20% that's still to come, more. And that's the only caveat I have to working with people is that they're open to being challenged, open to being uncomfortable, open to being vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's it. The rest we can figure out. We can lean into that together. It's just
but the lack of vulnerability, the lack of a willingness and a desire to be emotionally naked, vulnerable, in relationships in general for some people, let alone in the workplace. And I think a lot of that stems from, childhood interactions, our belief around vulnerability, and particularly for young boys, I think it's really tough for, I'm sure you live interacted with many men of a generation where they were told that it was weak, to cry or even to show any emotions.
Oh, yes. Yes. I've sat with an interesting group of gentlemen over the last few days, ranging very powerful, traditionally societal powerful men, ranging from their 40s through to their 70s. And, the way it's interesting to take a step back and watch the dynamics and actually how much freer they are when they realize they don't have to do that. And when they're called out on it in a provocative but loving way, a gentle way. This isn't about, I can't meet these people gently. It wouldn't be right. It's in the NLP world, one of my things I like to use is in my toolkit, it's about pacing and leading. So
Right.
I have to meet them where they're at and gently say, come on, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. But that might involve me being a little bit feisty to do that. And most of the men I work with are receptive to do that. They are, and they understand. They know where it's coming from. They know where the wounding is. They know where it is. They're also very interested in the work, my Mind Tools for Kids stuff, because they see the value in it. So sometimes the freest conversation we'll have will be about that. And I know they're getting an element of healing by us having that conversation.
Yeah, it's like a Trojan horse, isn't it? They're, oh, yeah, it's just a kid. I'll have a conversation, and it's like, oh, actually, there's some wisdom there. And I think that's true because, I think when you talk about, I think because we've all got that little inner child still carrying with us. Gordon Neufeld says that the purpose of parenting is maturation. Many of us have got to adulthood without that process of maturation. So, it's all a nudge higher, shall we say? But let's put Mind Tools for Kids front and center. I think, did you start it mid 2015, 16? Why?
Well, obviously, I'd had the clinic for men. Sounds dodgy. Clinic for men, mostly men. It became that way, and it became a piece of work. A process was starting to emerge where I'd be going through some of their earlier imprint experiences, and we'd be doing some work around that, and we'd actually end up realigning them. Most of them were parents, and we'd look at how can they break that cycle, how can they show up in a better, more informed way. So I started bringing it in sort of unconsciously, naturally, to help them move And it was very apparent to me that I don't like the idea of waving a magic wand and someone walking away and thinking, wow, she's great. I want them to walk away and go, how much greater am I now that I have this tool and I want to share it with others because it's that good. I don't want it to be a secret. I want it to be something people use. So I thought, well, I'm a parent now myself. Lexi at the time had just started school, so she'd come out of my bubble and I'd had to let her go. And I thought, oh gosh, I go through all of this stuff now, and like my environment and different beliefs and values are coming in, and we're facing day-to-day things like, oh, I don't want, like, manifesting tummy aches because she didn't want to go in, things like that. I thought, well, hang on a minute, let's use all of the stuff I've been using for years, but without jargon, and be more playful with it. And I'll see how it goes. I'll see how it lands. And I started to do some videos, put them on my Facebook. A friend of mine was like, you've got to do some videos. I was mortified, but I thought, no, I'll do it. And they sounded really, really well. And I thought, well, let's make this so easy that it's not just me that can do it. I'd like it to be so somebody else could watch it and they could do it too. Otherwise, it's about me, and what's the point? I won't do it if it's about me. And that's sort of where it started. So I thought, let's get rid of the jargon. Let's clean it up. Let's make it more playful. Let's make it so the kids can do it and the parents can do it too. And I'll just see how it goes. And I thought, if all else fails, I've done something positive. I've left a positive mark, hopefully. And that's it. I'll just see where it goes. And that's sort of what happened.
And then what next? Where has it gone?
Well, I've had to have another child now as another demo subject.
Just to, CPD, right?
Spectrum now, because I've got Lexi's a teenager now, and Nancy's just started school this week. And pretty much when Nancy came along, by that point, I'd already done loads and loads of one-to-ones with children. I'd worked with parents. I'd taken workshops into schools. I'd held my own workshops over 6 weeks, 10 weeks, individually, different subjects, confidence, anxiety, whatever. I'd made a kids coaching card product to help parents in the homes. I wanted to give them something to do in the home. Those, I forgot about those until the other day. And then when Nancy came along, I'd taken my own coach training. I'd done some trainer training to start to train other people to be coaches. And I thought, how can I best utilize this? And I thought, well, I would like more people to have the skills to be able to help children in whatever capacity, whether that's in the home, whether that's as conscious community members, whether that is in the schooling system or within whatever they're currently doing. We're all around children, we're all influencing every single day. So I spent a period of time while I was very big out here with Nancy, writing up all of my stuff and putting together the coach training program. And I think every year I've carried on evolving it, tweaking it, putting it out there. And here I am today.
Love it.
4 years into it, yeah.
So I think since we last spoke, I'm not sure whether the book was out. I think it was out round about the time we spoke. So I have the book here, The Brilliant Brain Friends, an inside-out tale about your brilliant brain.
See, that was after, actually, yeah. So
that was after our conversation. I've got your Mind Tools for Kids coaching cards. I'm going to use them on you in a second. That'll be some fun. Get ready for that. And I guess, just to speak directly to those people who are perking their ears up, that would love to work with children, would love to consider becoming a coach and matching that skill set to help children. You got a couple of cohorts coming up?
Yes, one in October.
Yep.
And one in March.
When does the October one start?
30th of October.
Great. So this episode will be going out end of September. So you've still got plenty of time. If you're listening, you've got plenty of time to head over to the links that we'll share them in the show notes. Go and check it out. What sort of things do you get equipped with when you become a Mind Tools for Kids coach?
I love this program because, number one, I get new friends because we're in each other's lives. The teaching element is for 3 months, but 3-4 years later, I'm still WhatsApp with everybody because it's amazing where this takes you.
Mhm.
I've put my heart and soul into this, and I've really tried to make this a program that will set you up to be a coach from entry level. So you will learn a lot about yourself, because before we can even think about serving others, there's a whole lot of work that we need to do that's ongoing. So I've designed it that over that 12-week period, we mix up theory with actual reflection, going out, practicing, implementing, bringing your own personality and experience into it, because I believe, like we said earlier, we all have our own gift, our own way of birthing our ideas. And I don't want cookie cutter people. I want to give you all the tools and strategies to leverage your own gift, your own life experience, to then go out there and be able to positively impact young people. So it's a meaty program. There's a lot in it. The Brain Friends are now in it. So after the first couple of goes, in the middle of lockdown, that thing where we were all stuck indoors, I remember I thought, how can I become more trauma informed? How can I integrate more about the brain and what's going on and the science into this? So I looked at something called triune brain theory and looked at some of the trauma informed practices that a lot of schools are integrating. And as I said earlier, a lot of children especially will get tummy aches and things like that when they're feeling their big emotions. So we looked at the 3 parts of the brain in the triune brain theory, and I thought, how can I teach this without it sounding jargony so that it sticks? Because if we could teach kids about how we physically experience our feelings and they understood those cues, if we could then help them understand about attachment and emotions, and then let them know that, guess what? Your brain's still developing into your mid-20s. It's normal. It's normal to be angry. It's normal to have big emotions. It's normal to have fight, flight, freeze responses. That's a big weight off their shoulders. We're normalizing normal stuff, biology. So I thought, well, let's do it with some characters.
Yeah.
The Brain Friends were born, so that's now in the program too. So you've got Lenny Lizard, that's all about the reptilian brain, how we run the body. You've got Milo Monkey, the place of emotions and attachment, and then we have Orla Owl, that's our prefrontal cortex. It's all about how we express, learn our cognitive stuff. So yeah, they came into the program during lockdown. I did the children's book, self-published that. Do workshops in schools with that, and that's very much the front face of how we teach the children the tools and strategies.
Very good. It's very good because, you could say, oh, when the production of cortisol goes through the body, it inhibits the access to the prefrontal cortex. You think, well, what does that really mean?
I know, right? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I love taking traditional learning subjects. I am a geek. I do love learning.
Yeah.
And I also like things to be really simple.
Yes.
If I walk away confused, we have a problem here, because if I want the kids, there's not really an element of Mind Tools for Kids that children can't learn. I've adapted it into a junior coach program because I think there's no reason why they can't do that. And this is the thing. So you can't use jargony terms like you just said. We need to make it. What we do is we tend and tame the characters. We tend and tame Lenny Lizard. What does he need to relate?
Tend and tame.
Yes.
Hey, my friends, hope you're enjoying the interview so far. If you are resonating with the heart work of Emily and Mind Tools for Kids, and it's in your heart to really make a positive difference to young people, then let us encourage you to consider becoming a Mind Tools for Kids coach. You can head to the link in the description to get all the information, all the details you need about the program. And we would love to see this become an extension of your heart work. With Emily, she will give you the knowledge, the skills, the tools and the strategies to be able to make a difference as a Mind Tools for Kids coach. It doesn't matter whether you are a coach already, all that matters is that you have a heart and a mind for helping young people. Throughout the 12-week course, Emily will take you through a number of modules, including meeting the brain friends, learning all about beliefs and values, mindfulness, social connection, relationships, growth mindset, and resilience, and so much more. As I say, head to the link in the show notes to find out more about becoming a Mind Tools for Kids coach. And here we go, back to the interview with Emily Harbrecht. Tend and tame, I like that. Carry on, sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, so tend and tame is, there's a page in the back of the book, how to look after your Lenny lizard,
Mm-hmm.
how to look after your Milo monkey. What do they need to relate well with each other? Because the idea is when the brain friends are friendly and they're working well together, we have a fully integrated brain.
100%. Yeah, I've often said the phrase, and this is more out of intuition rather than education. It was like, if you've got a troubled heart, be still. And if you've got a troubled mind, move the body. And that kind of just come from my own. Is there any truth to what I've just said?
Wow, I mean, definitely. I mean, we're all different. We all process things differently. One of the things I teach in the coach training is leave your preconceptions behind about what you think we do when we're in certain states. Leave that at the door. We've got to calibrate it for the individual. There's no right or wrong. But certainly, especially in the school system, we notice with children that if they struggle to sit still or they need to move their body, that's for a reason. There is something that they're trying to process. It's normal. And it's helping them understand that and take some ownership of it. So even with Nancy at the age of 4, I focus very much on her Lenny lizard. What can you do? What do you notice in your body? What happens before you start feeling shifty or you're feeling big emotions? What can we do to look at your Lenny so that you can better communicate your feelings and your needs with your all out? So it's just giving them, empowering them to notice and to advocate for themselves, to learn how to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the disservices we do to our children is expect that they're capable of tending and taming something they haven't even got a word for. You're like, how many of us as adults can even name the emotions that we are experiencing, right? You know, I think as you grow in your emotional intelligence and your connection with self, then the list of words you can identify, you know, the type. If we were to sit down and write a list of all the emotions we've experienced in the last 24 hours, I imagine we could probably write more emotions now than maybe we could 10 years ago and then 10 years before that, because you get to know yourself, right? But I think sometimes we expect too much of kids. Like, if they could regulate themselves and they could do all that, then I'm sure that they would. And I guess our challenge as parents and as leaders and significant people in their lives is we have to be able to first tend and tame ourselves. I guess that's what you're saying with the coaching and stuff, is we have to be able to get ourselves to a point where we've tended and tamed whatever big stuff's going on within us so that we can be the person that child needs us to be, right?
This is it. And one of the biggest pieces with the coaches, some are parents, some aren't, but it's very much about how do you get to the point where you leave your stuff behind so you can show up for others. So it's, let's be aware of our leakage because it happens. You know, I'd be worried if you came to my training and weren't forcing your own beliefs and values and experiences and trying to filter through those, because it's natural for us to do that. It's the awareness of us doing that, and it's the awareness that we're all processing differently. And I think when we started this conversation and you said about children finding who they are, I want to hold the space for them to do that. So that's one of the things I'm really passionate about, is us stepping back and looking at the language we use with children, making sure it's clean language rather than leading, that we're encouraging them to connect to themselves, because we need that. We all need to connect better with ourselves, especially in these noisy times. And understanding more about, hey, what do you really believe? What do you care about? What do you value? What things do you see going on in life that you feel passionate about providing a solution for? Because you can ask an 8-year-old child, and actually there'll be big world life things that they will have passions about. And I think they're never too young to start to connect with that. Definitely. It's magical.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from you the last time you were on the show is about asking a child, what, rather than saying, what do you want to be when you grow up, asking them what problem do they want to solve in the world. Like, that really kind of resonated and stuck, and I know it really resonated with a lot of people that listened.
Definitely. And I think it's not changed for me. I dug out a crusty old school report the other day. And just to prove to my oldest that I wasn't always, that I am a talkative person, because she thinks I was this goody two shoes. I was, but equally so.
That's what she needs to know. Yeah, 100%.
It said in the report that, Emily wants to, she wants to change people's lives. She wants to show up and be there for people, and that's never left me. It's been there since I was a child, and the only thing that's got in the way is my own belief or lack of, and some gentle ways of me learning some skills, how to quieten down at times, how to reconnect to my intuition, how to realign with my own beliefs and values as I grow and as I move from my home environment, what I've been taught there and what the world showed me, how I constantly evolve in my own way. And I think that's what I want to teach children. That's how I want to help them connect with themselves, to normalize the big stuff, to have better strategies to be able to manage that, and to be able to open up and realign with what is important to them, rather than just being spoon-fed from the internet or imposed on.
One of the things you've just got scattered throughout all of your work is this word brilliance and brilliant. Like, what is it that inspires you about the brilliance of children? Well, how might a child find their brilliance?
I'm also massively into, like, what a word, like the semantics, what does that word do? Like, brilliance to me is like, number one, I like I just physically, I'm still a child. That word to me is uplifting. Yeah, it's uplifting. Brilliance, it's like, it's got energy to it. Like, what's brilliant? One of the things I do in the training is I say to the coaches, you've got to model this stuff.
Yeah.
When you're showing, you're teaching confidence, you're teaching brilliance, you've got to be it and do it. You've got to give them permission. We're leading on the dance. And brilliance can be anything. It can be just a wonderful sparky moment. It can be a tiny burst of energy. But if you ask a child what's brilliant or what's the brilliance in you, to me, there's no right or wrong answer. It's the state that I can help them learn to get into and give them the flexibility in behavior of accessing their own brilliance, whatever that is to them. It's a feeling of energy, movement, and positivity within self, and teaching them how to access that. We can get very good at doing bad feelings. You put the news on, it's grey. Financial issues, work, dark, miserable winter, heavy. Actually, brilliance is something we can change our state in seconds and connect with that. So connecting kids with whatever it is that gives them a tiny spark of joy in that moment.
So for people that have been around the podcast long enough, they'll know that I talk about concepts of heart set and heart work. And Emily, what you're just displaying and demonstrating as a masterclass in heart set connection and heart work expression, because you are a fully authentic, integral human being that is the living embodiment of your heart. And I love your heart work expression. I absolutely love it. And I know that it's definitely transformative for people who experience your energy from it and through it, and so will go that ripple effect. It creates new possibilities, which is the thing that really inspires me. This new possibilities that a child who has more emotional intelligence, more emotional awareness, better self-talk, a bit more of a growth mindset, like that could change a child's trajectory of their entire life.
It does. And for some of these kids, like they can take that at a very young age, and
Yeah.
that has a ripple effect for them in their own family,
Yeah.
for the other children that they're around. They're never too young to take something that works well and share it. That's what it's about. Definitely. It's about we often look back, what do we wish we knew, with the benefit of hindsight. So it's lovely to be able to reverse that. It's also lovely to be able to work with some of the coaches and reconnect them with playfulness, with joy, and the belief in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They can change, they can do this good work, they can heal, they can be the difference that makes the difference that maybe they needed. There's a cathartic element to it. But for me, I have a great deal of excitement when I teach this program. And that's how I know that I'm in my zone of brilliance, because I'm excited to share it. There are many things in my life that leave me flat, trust me.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff where I'll think, oh, I don't walk around, yay, all the time. But when I'm teaching that stuff, or I'm sharing one of the tools or the concepts, I know I'm doing the right thing, Ryan. I know I'm aligned, because I feel energy through every fiber of my being. It just feels
Yes.
like, how excited. Like, I get off of a call teaching and I think, wow, I got to do that.
Yeah.
I got to do that.
Well, and so this is the problem of a world that prioritizes intellect, because it starts to interpret the shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should I be doing this? What should I look like? It's almost a projection of what do other people want me to do. But what you've actually just revealed is that the true guide is that feeling. I think Bruce Lipton said that nature has a way of letting us know we're in the right place with the right people at the right time. And nature's clue is your energy. Are you resonating and in harmony with that? In which case would double your energy, or is it competing and contradicting, and therefore it's gonna, cut it out? And the reason I'm highlighting that is because you've just hit the nail on the head. So many people overlook that. Oh, that's high in the sky. That's fit. That's woo. That's too good to be true. That's not going to create a real life. I can't do that, and I overlook that at our peril.
Oh gosh, I mean, this is, so like, one of my greatest lessons is I can do a lot of stuff, but feelings of joy, sparking joy whilst doing the stuff, is a big game changer. And reconnecting with small, sometimes for some people it can seem like too big a jump. Oh, of course, not everything you do is going to be yay. It's not, but it starts by having joy in the moment. It starts by,
Yeah.
wow, this sip of water. Oh, what a great sip of water. Wow, this feels brilliant in this moment. Like, oh, what a great moment. And I do this with the guys, by the way, with the,
Yeah.
I'll say, come on, in this moment you can switch and you can be like, and it breaks the ice and we start to laugh, because kids do this naturally. They can get excited over nothing. They can find joy in small things. They can go through horrible experiences. We say, oh, kids are resilient. A lot of them are good at masking, they're good at tolerating, but they're also bloody good at accessing joy and excitement and having that moment of play and happiness. And I think we need more of that. We can give ourselves little bits of that, even without having a career change or doing your dream job. We can do this. We just need to to go there first. We need to try it on. We need to model it first. And if we don't have it within us, find someone that you notice in your life that does it. And rather than eye rolling, give it a go.
Yeah.
Try it on.
Yeah, 100%. You said something a minute ago that was saying, you know, even if things aren't great, there are gonna be things in our work that are not our favorite things to do. Like, you can't separate yourself from that. But I think the gift we give ourselves is when we do more of that stuff that we love, that is the living expression of who we are, we actually don't give up when it gets tough. It's like one of those, it's the gift that we give ourselves. Is something that's going to be difficult along the way, but when it is a joy and a passion, you don't mind sticking it out.
Definitely not. That's the thing. It's hold that memory, make that picture so bright, so bold. Feel it. This is one of the techniques, is to associate into it. We can be so good at looking back at experiences, memories in our life from a very dissociated perspective, like it's a picture. But one of the things we do with Mind Tools for Kids is let's remember the good stuff. Let's experience the things that we like, love, and enjoy in a whole body associated perspective, because then the chemicals within our body shift. Our whole physiology shifts, our behavior changes, we become more uplifted. The outcome's different for us then. We're lighter. We then start to notice opportunities more. It has a real, you know, like rolling sort of snowball effect in our life. And it can start with something simple. We taught that, you know, be grateful for the big stuff, but just the tiny things. And each tiny time we align with ourselves is something to celebrate.
Why?
Because it's greater connection with self. And in that world, that's an achievement. It is.
And I guess I think people know what it feels like to be disconnected with self. Whilst it might not be described and defined in that way, disconnection with self is division, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's lack of clarity, confidence, all those byproducts of a disconnection between who I believe myself to be, who I am, you know, what others believe me to be. And yeah. So I see that a lot of this work is an act of defiance, and the reason I'm quite a defiant individual, quite anti-establishment. I don't know, them as my childhood, but I didn't like being told what to do. But it means that I have an energy that is one of, do you know what? The world tries to make me feel like I lack something. The world tries to keep me a consumer and a customer of something. The world tries to tell me that I need to look and act in a certain way so that I meet some ideal and success. And I think a lot of what we're doing about trying to create life from the inside out, being someone that we love, doing what we love, needing nothing from anybody else, being the gift and serving. I think that is a small act of defiance in a world that tries to keep us in a state and energy of lack all the time.
I'm defiant by nature. I can't help myself.
Is this the 12th of May thing? Is this are we Taurians?
Taurians, it depends if you're in personality theories. I'm the, you know, very much I feel I like watching what goes on. I certainly don't like to take part in all of it, I'll be honest with you. And I've had many times in my life where I could be in things and I've just felt repelled. I just like to be just on the outside of it. And I think one of the things I've been looking at is how can I take my playful, defiant nature into a traditional environment that is maybe bound by some certain rules and regulations
Yeah.
are at odds with my natural personality type. For instance, like the school system. How can I get over that and take my stuff and match it in and get it in there so that I can be part of a difficult change process? How can I do this in that environment? That's very much where I'm at now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conditioning going on, either subliminally or whatever. and I guess one of my mentors once said that do not conform to the patterns of this world, but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is
Wow.
effectively what you're doing, right? Every single day, helping create a new. Because I think we it's very clear now, the science is showing that particularly with epigenetics, is that it's our thoughts and our consciousness that will create our reality. Our DNA will change its expression in relation to the thoughts and the environments that we keep.
This is the thing, and the basis of all of my stuff is that what goes on in here creates our reality.
Yeah.
What we experience, it changes it goes through our filter system. We make that internal representation of it. We can't help but have it show up in our body. We're a whole unit, and then that changes how we show up. The greater the flexibility we have in our own behavior, our own way of perceiving the world, the easier it's going to be, the more resilient we can be, the more opportunities we will see rather than closing them off. So it's all about giving kids flexibility. Sometimes that's outside of some of the societal conditioning that they may have, and it's being open to that. The great thing is kids are very open to learn. They are. A lot of this we get weathered over the years, we get shaped and conditioned by things. So it's like a continuum for me. Work with the adults that can reach the kids, but also make sure that the message that's going to them is empowering them too, so that then growing as a more empowered individual, they feel the more influence over their own existence, more creativity.
I've got you and I share a psychology background, and there's always a debate within psychology around, is it nature, is it nurture? And I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they are very different personality wise. They have different motivations, different desires, different natural expressions. One thinks he can sing, one can actually sing, like those sorts of things. And it's made me realize, and I wonder your kind of perspective on this term, is I think as parents, as leaders, and as coaches, whether this is people in our workplace or in our home, I think we are here to nurture their nature.
Definitely. And I think we cannot underestimate the leakage, whether we think we're doing it or not. What we think is that the environment that we are putting our children in, by the time we've got them, we can't really do much about the DNA. That's done. What we can do is we can do our best and be very conscious about the environment that they're in, and we can do the work. And the only thing we can really do is to do the work on ourselves. It's to be aware. I have never been more triggered than being a parent. Any person that thinks it's not going to bring up all of your unresolved stuff, it is. It's going to, I mean, back to school week, I hear from most of the adults I talk to, their wounds of bullying started at school, feeling ostracized, whether they loved school or hated school. It's there. It's back. That's going to impact how they show up as a parent, around others, around children, even the conversations that you have with a child, whether you've got them or not. Oh, you're nervous about school? I hated school. I was bullied. We're constantly triggered and leaking our own perspective, which has an impact on our minds. So, we're never going to be perfect parents. We're never going to create this perfect environment, but being conscious and aware of the fact that we're shaping them, I think, is a very important thing.
In every interaction, I had to come clean to one of my groups the other day because, there's this belief that, when you're a heart-centered leader, you must be perfect, right? And I was like, I'm a human being. I'm a flawed human being, and sometimes I don't make the best decisions. And it's like, but it's that's what the awareness brings, the opportunity, isn't it? It's okay, from this moment you adjust and you adapt. It doesn't mean to say everything's going to go as you want it to, but as a constant, recommitment to wanting to bring out. Carl Jung once said that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived lives of its parents.
Oh,
what do you think about that?
oh gosh, it's funny. I was saying this the other day. I was noticing any unconscious stuff within myself about how I perceive things like extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
what I enjoyed as a child, what maybe I felt unfulfilled in. Do the work before I project, before I decide what my 4-year-old might like to do.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah, yeah,
ballet? Is this about me? How can I be at point neutral so that she
yeah,
can make the right decisions and try everything?
yeah.
And for me, it's really exciting stepping back and letting the kids find their own way. And someone said to me
Mm.
the other day, oh, it was the school for Nancy. I had to fill in like a cover sheet of what's your child's favorite this, what's their favorite that, what's their preferred this. And I actually
Yeah,
thought, well, I don't know.
yeah,
Not convinced she does either.
yeah,
And I thought, is this the
yeah,
analyst in me here? Is this the defiant me?
yeah,
Is this the overconscious parent here? But actually, I thought, well, I'll ask her. I said, come in here. We've got to share some information. The reason we're doing this is because they want to help you settle into that environment. So they're asking some questions because then they feel they can connect with you better, Nancy. And she said, tell them I like everything and I'm not sure yet. And
yeah, 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 yeah.
answer that we put down, and I thought, oh, I'm doing something right here. I'm doing something right.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we're trying to have them fit an hour box, and she's like, "I'm not ready for a box. Don't put me in one of those." But I just pulled out 5 of your cards, right? So your coaching cards, they have 5 areas. They've got shine, grow, create, value, and chill. And the one I pulled out here, I don't know if that's written backwards, but it says create the power of yet. And your little one with her wisdom said, I'm not sure yet. What is the power of yet?
Oh, I love this one because when people come and do the coach training, the first thing they want is they're really, really desperate for a how-to guide and a script for everything. And I won't give it to them because I'm like, that doesn't exist. That's silly. We'll give all that to you at the end. But the reality is just one word can have a huge impact. And even like, I'm not ready to be a coach yet. That presupposes that there's so much possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And what I always urge people to do is, as they verbalize, as they say something, try it on, take a moment, stop and think, what does that feel like in my body? What's that like inside when I say that? When I say I can't do that, and then you add, I can't do that yet. Suddenly for me, there's a shift. And it's like, let's reconnect to the power of the possibility that that tiny word gives. Because that might be the only thing that's needed in a coaching session with the child, is to teach them that. That's it. Let them run with that, the power of that, the power of infinite possibility. Wow.
Yeah, it is. I think David Hawkins says that light cannot enter a closed box. So life will either allow you an invitation to open that box willfully, or it'll crack you open. Either way. So having a child like just embrace the power of yet, like at that age, just opens them up for the transformative power of whatever life wants to show them. That's the gift that's going to keep on giving for eternity.
So exciting, just adding that on, like it just shifts.
One of my things that I've taught my kids that they absolutely hate me for is just I use the word good. And maybe it's a bit of child abuse, maybe it's just a bit but like my daughter will come to me, she said, Dad, I banged my leg, and I'm like, good. She's like, Dad, how's that good? I said, well, because at least you could still walk on it, at least it's not broken. And like they're like, so my wife, she rolls her eyes at me all the time, she's like, you're an idiot. But I've got this reflex now in my kids. I've probably said it all the time for the last 4 to 5 years. It's a bit silly. I'm not genuinely saying I'm really glad that that's happened. What I'm just having them default reflex is going, how can I see the good in this situation? And I have to walk the balance because I don't want kids that can't see the shit in a situation. Sometimes you got to call a toad, right? But how can they start to see the gratitude? How can they start to see the opportunity? And that over, I trust that as adults that will mean that they, compared to their peers who maybe haven't been taught that, will find opportunities and solutions where others might not. Not that
Definitely.
I'm preparing them to be competitive, but in terms of their valuable contribution to their own lives, that will make them a more valuable human being, shall we say?
This is it. It's reframing, isn't it? It's reframing
Yes.
situations. It's
There you go.
looking.
That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, you're teaching them how to reframe context and meaning, and pattern interrupt that state. We get
Yeah.
we say like we're in a state. My nan used to always say to me, "Oh, I'm in a state. I'm in a state." Well, we're always in a state. It's whether or not it's useful and helpful. So sometimes we have to interrupt that state with something random that almost stops people in their tracks, and
100%.
that allows us to then reframe whatever they're experiencing so that they
Yeah.
can see a different perspective.
I'm going to play this part of the episode to my wife because sometimes I just say stuff like to break state. I'll say something or do something, and my kids will be like, "What?" And I was like, "I just said if you were listening, the old pattern interrupts." And
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Look, I could talk to you all day, and I want to be super respectful of your time, but also the listeners too. Um, we've feathered into or dovetailed nicely into the word possibility, the infinite possibilities, and that for me is what is one of the things that we create when we leave a heartprint. You'll know what I mean when I talk about the word heartprint. It's the legacy, it's the ripple effect, it's the possibilities that we create through our interactions, right? Even as simple as the power of just one word. And I would love for you to take a moment to consider what you think the heartprint of Mind Tools for Kids will be. Not just now, not just next year, but when you sit and you reflect at the end of your days.
Oh. Oh. Funny because I was listening to one of your episodes with Neil Donald Walsh, and I was listening to the end of his, and I've always said, for me, it's about whatever I do, wherever I go, I want to leave people better than I found them. Not better for my own ego. The only test of it is if they feel better or they are better. And that's fine when it was me. And now with Mind Tools for Kids, I'm learning to create something that's collective with lots of people involved. And I think what I want the legacy of that to be is that children, the coaches, whoever is involved with it, walks away knowing that they have everything they need already inside of them. You have everything you need. It's already there.
Amen.
That's it. I'm just helping you to see it and to access it more quickly, more efficiently, when you need it, when you want it. But it's already there. We're already whole, all of us. We're good enough.
Sometimes there's something in my garden that just pops out of nowhere. And I'm like, how did that get there? And you got to think, did it get put there, or has it been there all along? It just required the right conditions for that to be brought forward, to brew, and that's how I see the work that we do. Is like you say, it's already there, but have the right conditions been created to bring that forward?
Definitely.
One of the things that Neil said to me in that conversation about one of the greatest things we could do for another is to give themselves back to them. And I want to expand on that Heartprint by just giving you this perspective, which is I went to a health optimization summit, and for what was supposed to be a biohacking event, my favorite takeaway from the whole event was this guy called Ben Greenfield. He talked about one of the most important biohacks you can do is your family, meaning Like you can do all these types of, crazy things like ice baths or, nootropics or anything. He says, but if your own family is not healthy, there's conflict, or he says, don't matter what biohacks you're doing. He said, you're gonna feel unhealthy. Life's not gonna be great, right? Because there's suffering. So he flipped the perspective on that, and one of the things he said is the legacy of your parenting, or in this case your coaching, or whatever it might be, do it with the mindset that you're parenting your grandchildren. He says, because what you're doing is you're role modeling to your children how they should parent in 25 years time. So that's the powerful thing that I can see with Mind Tools for Kids, is that the true beneficiaries of your service are not those who train to be a coach. They're not even those who get coached by your coaches. It's everybody that those human beings go on to interact with throughout the rest of their entire life. It says that on average, human beings interact with 80,000 human beings in a lifetime. And if the ripple effect of your Mind Tools for Kids is that you're creating kids that are more heart-centered, more growth mindset, more loving, kind, compassionate, courageous, free-thinking, innovative problem solvers, then that ripple effect spans generations. And I'm here for it. And I can't wait to see it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Who wouldn't be motivated to do that, to be that, to embody that in their work,
So, one final time, if people want to join as a Mind Tools for Kids coach starting 30th of October, 31st of October, how might they do that?
There is a link
in the show notes.
It describes exactly what we're doing. There's a brochure that gives lots of information for people that want all of the meat and bones. You can reach out to me, and if you want to talk to any of the coaches that have done it, of course, there's lots of us around. But get stuck in and come and join us. Come and be a part of this.
Love that. You've got a Facebook community as well. I'll shove the links in the show notes. You've got these coaching cards. You've got a book. There's so many. When you say Mind Tools, you've literally got like 15 years worth of like secrets and sources and all the things that you're not keeping to yourself, which is wonderful. So I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for the work that you put into the world, my friend. You are a like-hearted sister of mine, and grateful that you're here on the show, and be honored if you'd leave us a final thought from your good self.
Oh, final thought. Just follow your heart and do the things that you've talked yourself out of doing, the things that are outside of you, the things that will spark joy and brilliance. You've still got time to do it.
Lots of love, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it to the end of the interview here on YouTube. I hope that our time spent together has left you a little bit better than before you push play. Before you go anywhere, please leave a comment down below, some of your key reflections, your key takeaways. I love hearing from you and what this conversation has inspired in you. Let me know what you're going to do as a result of this conversation. I will be back next Wednesday, where I will share another inspiring guest. To make sure that you don't miss that, please do subscribe, hit the bell, and you will be notified as soon as it goes live. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organization, please do visit alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com, and it will be my honor and privilege to help you in any way I can. Keep leading, my friends. I've been Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast here on YouTube. Always love.